All right, so go ahead and stop in the middle of cleaning this bed up for a minute. Kind of go over what I'm doing. So I got my collard green leaves in there. These are ones that I have going into the compost bin. Now, I guess for it to be true, life or death, I would save all of these leaves and just cook them down for a while. But in this case, I'm trying to avoid most of the damage. Get the young, fresh shoots that are gonna be the most tender and delicious. The old beat up, chewed up ones, kind of avoid that, or at least if some of the leaf is good, then maybe just cut out some bad parts. But the good stuff is right here in the center. That's coming up. It's all untouched. As far as the quality of collard greens for an SHTF food, you're not getting a lot of calories out of that, but you're getting a lot of nutrition. And there's another reason why, if you look at factors of what makes a good SHTF food, you got something that's to my pocket level big, full of greens. Aside from the nutrition, the simple fact is these were able to grow in extremely adverse conditions. It got down to 8 degrees, maybe even less, during this harsh winter over here. I didn't cover these at all. I didn't make any efforts to protect them or do anything to aid them in survival. And yet, here they are. And I probably need more than just that one bucket to get them all. I'm gonna save that one in the back for seed. And the reason why I'm saving it, it's a big, healthy, nice looking plant. And so, of course, so is this one. In fact, this one maybe even be better. But I guess it's just, it comes back to the old adage, location, location, location. This one's hanging over the side, so I can clean up 3/4 of this bed while still leaving this one in place. So it's kind of out of the way some. So once this is cleaned up, I can go in there with my stuff that's in trays. And this one will be cleaned up here in a moment. And I'll be able to go over this, pull all these out, and give a really good pass with the Stirpo and actually be able to see how effective it really is. It's supposed to be the bomb, so we'll find out. But anyways, in the meantime, I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to prune out. I'm going to pull this thing up or cut it with that knife. Let's see if I can just pull it. It snapped off. Bring this over to my bucket. You can see how large this thing is in comparison to my bucket. And like this enormous leaf here, it's going to take that off. That goes right into the compost pile, or it's going to go in the compost. Kind of get some of these out the way so I can get to the juicy stuff in the middle. Add that to my bucket. I went back and got my second bucket and just kind of flipping them upside down, looking for the heavily damaged dead leaves like that one and some of these. I'll flip it back over. Got a nice, pretty collard green that's not too heavily damaged with insects. And part of the reason why is because it was over winter when some of this foliage was grown, especially the new tender stuff. And the insects haven't come out yet because it's still getting down to 30s at night, upper 20s in some cases. So it's still hitting the freezing mark, which is keeping any kind of insects at bay. So all this is old insect damage, like that leaf right there. I'll probably prune that one a little bit, or maybe just leave it be. I don't know yet. So I'm gonna go ahead and come over to this. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. So I can come in here and just kind of trim out some of the ones that look good in my bucket. That one's mostly good. I'll probably cut out parts of it, but there we go. All right, so that's the collards I got out of here. 3 of these buckets. I'm not even sure what size bucket that is. This is a 5-gallon bucket. It's got these. Oh, maybe they are 5-gallon buckets. I thought they were smaller. That's a 5-gallon bucket that has strawberries in it. I guess that's 5-gallon buckets of collard greens. They're pretty packed in there. Tried to crush them, but I put them in there. There's a little bit of a backstory to these collards too. and talk about what makes a good SHTF food. Aside from the fact that you get all the nutrition and stuff, is they're notoriously easy to grow. So the backstory behind these collards, I grew these last spring. These exact same plants. And when I got to canning collards, which I'll probably save for another video on canning these things, they are kind of a pain in the neck to can, and that's one of the downsides. We'll get to that in a second though. One of the upsides to collards is how easy they are to grow. So I had these growing in these beds, and whenever they were big and huge like you just saw them, I trimmed them down, canned them up, pulled some out the ground. Some I just chopped like that over here, where I just cut them. And I just left them in there, thinking they would just break down and go back into the soil as organic matter. But they didn't. They started growing back and grew into these collards I just harvested now. So all that material there is going to go into compost. These materials here I'm going to can. So they grew back into the big giant plants you see. I saved the one for seeds, like I talked about. And they grew back. And so now I got 13 jars last time I canned these collards. So I'm not sure how many jars I'll get this time. If I get 13 more, although some of the plants I pulled out, so I don't have as many plants as I had last time. But if I get 6 or 7 jars, if I get 7 jars, I have 20 jars of canned collards. Can't complain about that. These do cook down a lot. They will wilt quite a bit when they're cooking. And you'll get to see that. And of course, I'm going to cut out some bad spots like that. Like I said, if I were to be sweating the food aspect of it, like, I mean, I got to have these to eat, then I would cook all this stuff down and take whatever I could get out of it. Nothing else of a vegetable stock. But there's some good stuff still in here. That's good fresh little collard greens on these stalks. So I may pick back through some of these. Now it's gonna be time to clean up the bed and check out the stirrupo and see how well it does. That's one of the plus sides to growing collards in SHTF. That, and they're extremely cold tolerant. Made it through the winter here in the Midwest without any kind of protection at all. The downsides, as far as preserving calories, they're not calorie dense, although they are nutritionally dense. These are not very calorie dense. One of the downsides with collard greens is how hard they are to preserve. Now, once they're canned, they'll last as long as any other canned good will. But you can't take and throw them in a root cellar. You can't take and just throw them in the fridge and leave them there forever. They are insect prone, as you can tell by the holes in the leaves. Although I'm sure if you're buying canned collard greens from the store, you have no idea what the condition was before they got chopped and processed. So for anybody who's squeamish about little holes in there, probably eating a lot worse from the grocery store. But they are a hassle because you have to take the ribs of these leaves out, because a big leaf like this rib is hard as a rock. You know, you can hear that crunch. So you got to cut all that out and then dice up the leaves themselves. When you got 3 buckets full of leaves, that takes a while to do. So I'll probably grab me a spot and sit outside and, with some scissors and stuff, once I wash these off and take the spines out. And then once you have all that, then you have to cook them down. Then you can process them for canning to get them all ready. Other stuff like potatoes, everybody's favorite SHTF food, it's easy. You don't even have to wash them off. You just take it, throw them in a paper bag or something. So they got, you know, in case they have some moisture issues, throw them in a potato tower rack thing would be the best. Put them in somewhere cool, and they'll store for months. These, not so much. They are a hassle, but they're worth it, otherwise I wouldn't grow them. So let's try out this right here and see how well it pulls up weeds. Let's see. It's gonna be hard to do with one hand. So, you know, the idea is to cut under. I can't really do this with one hand. Let me get to cleaning and I'll come back. All right, so there's the bed. Somewhat cleaned up. I ended up using a traditional rake for the most part. Went back through it with a little bit with that. But it seems to be better for weeding than it is for pulling old dead weeds. I don't know if they're all dead, but I guess we'll find out. If I start seeing green shoots coming up, then they'll get taken care of with that stirrupo. So now it does need a little soil topping off. The ground here is not really level. and I didn't level the beds really. So, but all I need to do is add some compost, and then start planting my spring crops. Now it's time for that bed. You can see a little bit of a difference. This is pretty nice soil though. It's nice and dark and rich. This looks terrible. So it's time to clean that one up.